The biggest game on Nebraska's schedule is probably against Colorado. It's going to be among the most hyped preseason or non-conference matchups in the first 3 weeks of the college football calendar. The biggest opponent they play is Ohio State. Their most important game, November 16th, late in the year at USC. Spencer, why wouldn't it be Colorado? Because their season isn't going to be defined against Colorado. If they win that game, great. They're going to find themselves in the top 25 with the way their schedule shakes out because they start with 4 straight games at home. UTEP, Colorado, Northern Iowa, Illinois. I expect them to win all 4 of those games. The Colorado one, let's say they drop it. It's possible. The Buffs are a much improved team, as is Nebraska, particularly at the quarterback position. They're going to play Colorado, and let's say they lose that one, and they're 3-1. Then they go at Purdue. Look, you can stumble in West Lafayette, Indiana. Better teams than 2024 Nebraska football have lost there before. I expect the Cornhuskers to be favored in that game. Then they host Rutgers, and then they go at Indiana. And look, anytime you have a young quarterback like Dylan Raiola, who's expected to be the starter, going on the road, you can ask questions, but it won't be his first road test. And Kurt Cignetti's coming over to, try and jumpstart the Indiana football program. I don't expect a lot from the Hoosiers in year one. In fact, I don't really expect much of anything there. So I don't think they're going to stumble in that spot. Purdue would be the more likely of those 2 games in which they would lose, and you go, did they really lose to that team? But then everything gets, shall we say, exciting or interesting for Nebraska. They go at Ohio State. They're not going to win that football game. Then they host UCLA. They should win that football game. I am much higher on Nebraska with Matt Rhule in year 2 than I am Deshaun Foster's team in year 1. I think UCLA is going to ride the struggle bus this season in the Big Ten. But the next week, they go at USC. And that's the most important game on their schedule. Because what I have argued on this show before is that Nebraska, with Dylan Raiola at quarterback, if he's just mildly competent and reaches 40%, 50% of his ceiling as a true freshman, maybe not even that, if he throws for 200 yards a game, Nebraska has a much improved offense, and they probably win at least 8 games. If they're going to accomplish that, and I suspect they will, that game at USC is going to tell us a lot. I don't even know if they necessarily have to win that game. They just have to respond to whatever they do that week properly. Because the next week they come back home, they host Wisconsin. That's not going to be a team you can just roll through and walk over and get an easy win, even at home, before they go at Iowa. So the last 3 games of their year, that's pretty tough. You got a bunch of teams right at the top of Tier 2. Those are top of Tier 2, fringe bottom Tier 1 teams in the Big Ten, which is an 18-team conference now because, make it make sense. And so I put those schools into 3 tiers, 6 in Tier 1, 6 in Tier 2, 6 in Tier 3. USC is a team that I'm higher on than most. If they go win that game at USC, in the Coliseum. Who knows where USC season is at? I suspect they'll be having a good year and will be over 500. How far? That might depend on how well D'Anton Lynn steps in to fix the defense that Alex Grinch kind of left for him, and he's worked to rebuild through the transfer portal this year. But if they win that game at USC, it's hard to see them losing both games against Wisconsin and Iowa, and suddenly you're pushing for a 10-2 campaign. It's on the table. The preseason win total, according to our friends at FanDuel, is 7.5. I love that over. I love that over because they can build so much confidence in the early going, and that Colorado game is big. I'm not trying to say that it's not a game we're going to pay attention to or it's a game that we should overlook. No. It's a game that isn't going to define their season. That USC game is. Because let's say they lose to Colorado, they win the rest of their games until Ohio State, they lose, they've got 2 losses. And then all of a sudden, they've got 3 at USC with a loss. What I mean to say is they've got 3 with a loss at USC. To come back home against Wisconsin, you've lost 2 or 3 games. You could be in wounded animal mode. Now, maybe it fires up your locker room and a sense of focus and rage and determination sets in. But you got a true freshman at quarterback. He's going to be more experienced by then. He won't have a full season under his belt. That game at USC, if you walk into the Coliseum and beat Lincoln Riley, boy, that says a lot, not just about the team, but the program of Nebraska football. Because if Matt Rhule in his second season is beating Lincoln Riley in Los Angeles in his third season, that says a lot about what Matt Rhule could build. And I don't think Nebraska is a program that is going to suddenly recapture its once and former glory. But can it be a program better than what it's been? Yeah, of course. Of course it can. Most programs that are not title contenders or perennial 8 to 10 win teams, you can be better than you are. There can be a notion that circulates out there, particularly on the interwebs, that this program is always going to be this. This is what they've been. This is what they're going to be. I don't think that's true. I don't even think that's true about Vanderbilt. I make an unnecessary amount of jabs at Vanderbilt, but it's a reference everybody understands. Vanderbilt has not been a good football program. They've been horrible. They also had a couple of 9-win seasons. Why? They hired the right coach. Any program, particularly at the Power 4 level, but this applies to the Group of 5 as well, within the context of that conference, any program can be better than it has been if you just make the right hire. It's why there's so much money, even at programs that aren't historically great or that don't have big expectations, put so much money into these coaching searches or hire outside firms. They take so much time. They are willing to pay so much money because if you get it right, you can change everything. I think Matt Rhule is a more than capable football coach for Nebraska, and I don't think he's going to get them to a Big Ten title contender status this season. Next year, could they push for that? Dylan Raiola in year 2, if you keep him around and keep him out of the transfer portal, which I suspect they'll be able to since he'll start this year. If they go 8-4, which right now is kind of where I'm feeling with my record prediction on Nebraska, that's just going to be a really, really exciting time to be a Cornhusker fan. Because you're going to have a young quarterback, an ascending program, and a head coach who's proven he can win at various locations. Let me know what Temple football has done in a major way since Matt Rhule left. You just got to have the right coach. And Matt Rhule, to me, seems like the right coach. But that game at USC is going to define their season because that final stretch is brutally tough. But you can change the mood in that locker room, which everydayers may notice is a consistent theme I talk about when defining the most important game of a team's season. What does it do for the momentum that you have in the year? Losing 2 of 3, coming back home for your regular season finale for senior day, that's a lot different than winning on the road at USC after beating UCLA, beating both of the newcomers and showing the new kids on the block, hey, rookies, you got some learning to do. There's an adjustment here. So I highlight that game at USC, November 16th, as the most important game on Nebraska's schedule. If you want me to do your team or any other team, just let me know. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time, and until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.